The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
I was just a few more minutes on this groundbreaking, heart-stopping story on Obama now finally having lineage, although it can't be proven. So I don't even know why there's a story, but to the first black slave in this country. On his mother's side, Rachel, on his mother. This means, ladies and gentlemen, Obama's white half is more authentically black than his black half. Snerdley is in there saying, do you know what they're going to do to you? Yeah, I do. That's half the fun of this. to tell you that folks, they take this so seriously. Yet none of them can tell me why it's a big deal. You know what it has to be? It has to be, in their world, the fact that Obama is the first black president but really isn't black because he's gotten down for the struggle. He doesn't have any slave blood. Apparently, that's been something eating at them. The media, leftists, people on the left side has been bothering them. I mean, you want the first black president with no ties to the struggle? That won't do. It's almost like you haven't really had the first black president. They've been struggling and trying to find, and now they're celebrating because they found it, but they haven't. If you read the whole story. Now, I'm just bouncing off the story. Obama's white half is more authentically black than his black half. Now, Obama said that his grandmother was a typical white woman. Was his mother a typical white woman? Do typical white women have slave blood? And if so, does that make Obama a racist now because he insulted a white woman with traces to the original slave? This is the way they think. I'm just trying to relate to them. Now, researchers are missing a record connecting this guy Punch to a presumed son who by his early 20s owned 450 acres and grew tobacco in Virginia. So they're missing a link between Punch and the son who is supposed to be the connection. So the whole story is a fairy tale. They do not have the link, and yet they've run the story claiming that they do. In other words, the whole story that they're having, this story is 2 days old now. They're excited about this. I mean, the Associated Press is overjoyed. This whole story is based on a link from Punch to some son who might be an ancestor to the Dunhams, but they can't find a link between Punch and the son. I mean, it's totally laughable. Now, I'm spending some time on this because it's a teachable moment. It shows us how much meaningless things count for them. It shows us that they live in a pretend fairyland, make-believe land. There is no link. The AP story admits there's missing data in the link. It doesn't matter. It's close enough. It counts. It's like if you missed the putt by half inch, it's close enough. It went in. Go ahead and count it. It's, as I said, it's a teachable moment. They don't live in reality. They make it up. They massage it. They bend it, shape it, flake it, form it to be what they want it to be. Anything. So, I mean, this whole thing is laughable. Punch's son would have been black. How many black men owned 450 tobacco plantations, 450-acre tobacco plantations in Virginia in the 17th century? There would be records up the wazoo if such a black man had existed. And we don't have such records. Now, can we get these researchers to look into Obama's college transcripts? Can we call upon Ancestry.com to see if they can find the transcripts at Occidental, at Harvard, and Columbia, and in Harvard. I mean, while they're at it, I mean, they're write birth certificates. This may be the group to do it. The group didn't find a link. There's a whole story written about how they did find a link. So desperate are they to have a story that Obama's traceable. Isn't it laughable? Not just slave blood. They claim he's got a traceable link back to slave number 1. So I thought the president's DNA was highly classified. Didn't that come up in the controversy over Monica Lewinsky's blue dress? How'd these researchers get his DNA? AP doesn't tell us that. We seem to know, now this AP story, we seem to know more about the first American slave than we know about the first American black president. Well, I'm just basing on what's being reported here. I'll tell you, if Obama were smart about now, he'd be finding some Jewish ancestors. Remember how Clinton did that? I mean, they live in a fake make-believe world anyway. Why not go for the whole shebang here? After proving that you've got... No, they haven't proven it. After asserting that you have lineage all the way back to slave number 1, now let's get Moses taken care of. Let's get linkage all the way back to the 10 Commandments. Obama at the burning bush. Doesn't take much. You find out everything you know, and then imagine the rest, and go to AP, and you write the story. It's all laughable anyway. It illustrates how these people, they run around and they call all of us racists. They're obsessed with skin color. They're obsessed with the symbolism of it. They are obsessed with things that have nothing to do with who a person really is. They don't care to find out who Obama really is. And if they were to find out who Obama really is, they don't care to tell us if it would not help his reelection effort. So they got to focus on all this surface, meaningless stuff. Clarence Thomas has actual family members traceable to slavery. Clarence Thomas, actual family members who were slaves. You think the media going to write a story about it? You think the media will do a story about Clarence Thomas being authentically black? No. They don't dare. His politics are all wrong. He can't possibly be. All this is laughable anyway. Obama's father was from Kenya. Kenya has been a center of the slave trade since the Middle Ages. Kenya continues to deal in slaves even to this day. There's no doubt that Obama's descended from slaves and slave traders on his father's side. There's no doubt. His father's from Kenya. But they don't dare go there. They don't dare because it's still alive and thriving.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.